Welcome to lesson number 1 of Algebra 2. We're in Unit 1. Unit 1 is on real numbers. Lesson number 1 here is on plotting and ordering numbers. Number 1, what is the position of b on the number line below? Write your answer as a fraction or mixed number. The answer is, okay, now this is when you hit pause if you need to, if you wanted more time to think about it. Okay, so the answer is 1 2/5. And you're also going to want to purchase, if you're really doing this for a class, you're going to want to purchase some kind of other supplement to do more practice with, and either an online supplement or you could get a textbook. If you need some ideas, reach out to me at a2math.com on the contact form and I can give you some ideas. Okay, so to get 1 2/5, if you didn't get that, between any two numbers, you need to count up how many pieces the number line has been divided into. So between the number 2 and 3, it's been divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. So it's broken into a fifth. There's one piece, there's another piece, there's another one. And so you add them all up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 5 out of 5 pieces are the number 1. So anyway, it's cut into 5 pieces. So from the number 1, then you over 1, 2. So it's 1 2/5. Number 2. Number 2 says plot -6, 12, and -3 on the number line. Okay, so for the answers, you should have right here, -6, over here is 12, and from 0 to the left is 1, 2, 3, there is -3. On a number line, to the left it goes smaller, or you could say the negative infinity. To the right, it gets the bigger numbers, or positive infinity. And when we get to the XY grid, just overachieving here, when you go up, you're going to positive infinity. When you go down, you're going to negative infinity. So you could think of this kind of as the x-axis, and going vertically is the y-axis. All right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It keeps getting bigger, and to the left it gets smaller. -1, -2, -3, and the bigger the number when it's negative, the smaller it gets. Number 3. It says plot the numbers -1/6 and 2 1/3 on the number line below. Okay, so for the answers, you should have on here -1/6. If you counted, you would see it's broken into 6 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So -1/6 is right here. And then 2 1/3, you're going to want to change it so that it's out of a 6. And so when it's out of 6, multiply the top and the bottom by the number 2, and that gives you 2 2/6 is the equivalent fraction to 2 1/3. Again, it's an equivalent fraction if you need to look that up. All right, so 2 2/6, so there's 2, and then over 1, 2, right there is 2 2/6. All right, then number 4. On number 4, it says use less than, greater than, or equal to compare the following numbers. Okay, so doing them, for those that like to get the answers really quick, you should have had less than, greater than, and greater than. That's the less than symbol. When you open it up a little bigger, it looks like an L for less than. This, when you open it bigger, it makes a backwards L, or greater than. So, looking back at that number line that we had, -11 is definitely smaller than the number -1, because -1's right here, and as you get smaller, you get to -11. -11 is much smaller than -1. So since that's smaller, the bigger number is -1, and -1 is less than that, or smaller than it. And then -4, -6, here's -4, and there's -6. -6 is much smaller than -4 because it's further to the left. So -6 is much smaller, -4 is bigger. So since it's bigger, you have the alligator swallow up the bigger number, and -1 was bigger, so again, have the alligator swallow up the -1. And then 7 is definitely bigger than -3. So greater than, because a positive number is always going to be bigger than a negative number. Number 5, it says, what is the value of the square root of 16? This fancy symbol means square root. Okay, so the answer on it is 4. Square root, it's got an imaginary 2 there. You don't see it, but it's there. When it doesn't have a number in the radical symbol, it's to the second root. So 16 is equal to 4 times 4, or there's 2 4's inside, multiplied together, so the square root of it is the number 2. I mean the number 4. All right, and then to use the fancy calculator here, the square root key is above the x squared key. So first of all, turn the calculator on. It's down here. Turn it on. Hit clear if you got a lot of stuff in there. And then the square root key is above the x squared key. So go second x squared, and then 16, enter. Enter down there means equals. And you get 4. Again, second, and then the x squared key, 16, enter, and you get 4. Okay, next up it says, use the calculator to approximate the square root of 65. Round your answer to the nearest hundredth. Okay, the answer is 8.06, 8.06, or 8 6/100. All right, so it goes tenths, and then hundreds, and then thousandths. So the nearest hundredth means 2 places. All right, so using the calculator here, square root of 65, second square root, 65. Get 8.06225. So to the nearest hundredth, right here, to the nearest hundredth, you look to the right of it, and if that number to the right is 5 or greater, then it rounds up to 7. But it's not, it's the number 2, so it stays 6. So it either rounds up or stays the same, and here it stays the same because the number after it was the number 2. So 8.06. Number 7. Order these numbers from least to greatest. Negative 120 over 11, negative square root of 113, 10 7/10, negative 10.7 repeating. Okay, so the answers on this should be the smallest number there, the least number is negative 120 over 11, and then negative 10.7 repeating. The bar on top means it's repeating. And then the square root of 113, and last of all, 10 7/10. So changing these to decimals, I'm going to use my calculator. It's easier just to change them all to decimals to compare them. So 120 divided by 11 is 10.09. 10.909, or you could say 10.91 to the nearest hundredth, and then the square root of 113, second square root 113, is 10.63, and that was negative, and this one was negative, and 7/10 is 0.7, and then 0.7 repeating, again the bar means repeating, it means negative 10.777, and it just keeps on going. So taking it out to 2 places, I'm going to put a 0 behind this to compare them, and we can treat them all like money. So we got negative $10.91, negative $10.63, $10.70, and negative $10.77. So the smallest number is negative 10.91, or negative 120 over 11, because it's the biggest negative number there. And then the next biggest negative number is 10.77, and then 63. Again, when you're looking at the number line with negative numbers, the bigger the number, a lot of people, get confused. They're like, well, it's bigger. Yes, it's very negative. It's very small. So negative 11, negative 12 is smaller. So the bigger the number is, and it's got a negative sign on it, the smaller the number is. Okay, next one, number 8 says, evaluate the following. Absolute value of 6 equals, and the next one says the absolute value of negative 13 equals. Okay, so the answer is 6 and 13. So absolute value of 6. Those brackets there mean absolute value, and that means how far it is away from 0. what is the distance the number is from 0? And the number 6 is 6 units from 0. The number negative 13 is 13 units from 0. So 6 units from 0 and 13 units from 0. So the bottom line is, if you're taking the absolute value of something, it just becomes a positive number because distance is never negative. So just take the negative sign off it. Last one, number 9. Find all numbers whose absolute value is 9. Okay, so the answer on this is 9 and negative 9. Because the absolute value of 9 is 9, and the absolute value of negative 9 is 9. All right, so I'll see you for lesson number 2. Again, contact me if you've got any questions. You're going to want to follow along with a book or something else online so you can practice it some more and make sure that you're mastering things. And again, get yourself a fancy calculator. All right, I'll see you for lesson number 2.